Hello friends, this is Alim Mansuri from NextGen Software Training and Development Center. So today we are going to see singleton design pattern in C Sharp. So in this session we will see what is singleton design pattern in C Sharp, then advantages, then next point is like implementation and example. So these are the points which we are going to cover today here in this session. So let's start with the point number one. What is singleton design pattern? Okay, so whenever we have to create a class which will have only one instance is created and available globally in the application is called singleton design pattern. So we have to create a class which will have only one instance available throughout the application. So we have to design that class that way. So it will restrict creating a creating an object of this class more than once in the other classes. So we have to ensure these things. Okay, so next point is advantages of using this singleton design pattern. So first and most important advantage of using singleton design pattern in C Sharp is that it takes care of concurrent access to shared resources. That means if we are sharing resources with multiple clients simultaneously, then concurrent access to that resource is well managed by singleton design pattern. Second is like it can be lazy loaded and also has static initialization. Third advantage is to share common data, that is master data and configuration data, which is not changed the frequently in an application. In this case, we need to cache the objects in memory. So whenever we have to cache the object in the memory and we have to share like common data or the data which is frequently used in the application, we can store in the singleton object, as it provides a single global point of access to particular instance, so it is easy to maintain. So it is easy to maintain because it has a global and single access. Fifth point is it is used to reduce the overhead of instantiating a heavy object again and again. So it will reduce the overheads as well because it will create only single instance in the memory, and it will like restrict creating a multiple object of the same class in the memory. So it will reduce the overheads. Okay, so let's come to the next point, that is implementation. So we have to see how we can implement the singleton design pattern. So first point is you need to declare a constructor that should be private and parameterless. So we have to declare a constructor which will have a no parameters and it will be a private. This is required because it is not allowed the class to be instantiated from outside the class. It only instantiates from within the class. So private constructor will restrict a class to be like accessed outside. Sorry, it will be restrict creating an object of the class outside the class or instantiating a class, and we have to declare that constructor as a private, and it must be a parameterless. Second point is the class should be declared as sealed, which will ensure that it cannot be inherited. This is going to be useful when you are dealing with the nested classes. Third point is you need to create a private static variable that is going to hold a reference to the single created instance of the class, if any. Fourth point is you also need to create public static property or method which will return the single created instance of the single class. In this method, we will check if instance of the class is created or not. If not, it will create an object of the class and return it. Else, it will return an existing object of the class. So whenever we have to create a singleton class, we have to follow these 4 points. So here in this document, I have given the singleton example as well. But here we are going to practically implement the singleton design pattern. We will see actually does it create a single object or not, and we will see all the basic things of singleton design pattern. So let's flip to the Visual Studio. So I am opening a Visual Studio application. So here we will take one console application. So here we have to select Windows. Then here we have to select console application. Let's name something to this application. So I will say like singleton design pattern example. I am changing the location of this application and click on the OK button. So once you click on the OK button, you will find some like program class is created here and program.cs file is open here. So whenever we take a console application, the program.cs file is there by default, and it is having this static void main method by default available here. Okay, so we have to create a class which will have a single object. So before going into the singleton design pattern code implementation, we will see how to define a class. So as we know, we define a class with class keyword. So I will say base class. Okay, so here I have created this class. Okay, now I am creating an object of this class. So let's create an object of this class. So we have created an object of this class. So as we know, we can create number of object of this class here, right? So I have created this three objects of this class. Now I have created here three object of this class, right? So how we will come to know whether the object of this class is created or not? So we will come to know if the constructor of this class got called. Okay, so I have defined here the constructor, and let's put a breakpoint here. Okay, now I am running the program and we will run this in the debug mode. So you have to click on the F10 while you are debugging the code, and you have to make sure you have to put one breakpoint here after the static method and one breakpoint here to the constructor. So let's debug it. Okay, now as we know, whenever the object of the class is created, default constructor get called, right? So here you can see that the default constructor got called here, right? For the first object, again the second object is created, again it got called, right? And the same thing will happen for third as well. So now we came to know the object of the, we can create number of object of the single class. Okay, now what we have to do, we have to design a class which will have only single object created here, right? So I'm commenting this part, and I am already having that code ready in the document. Just copy paste this. Okay, I am putting this code inside this namespace. Okay, it was not properly copied. Okay, I have to put only public here. Okay, so here you can see that there is already one class we have defined, which is having a public sealed class singleton, right? Its name is singleton, and we have defined one variable here, which is static, right? And here we have defined one private constructor, right? Now we will see these things one by one. So I'm removing some code from this class so we can understand this better. So here we have defined one class which is having sealed keyword. So let me remove this as well. Okay, and let me comment this as well. So now I have defined one class, public class singleton, right? Now here I have defined this constructor as a private, so I'm removing this as well. Now we have class which is having this public access modifier for class, and here I have defined one uh, constructor, right? So let's make it public. Okay, now it is public. As we know, if it is public, that constructor, we can create number of object of this class, right? So here you can see that we can create number of object of this class. Correct. So if I debug it, so it is like rebuild all succeeded without any error, right? So it is mean that we are able to create number of object of this class. If you go to document and if you see in the point number 2, sorry, in the point number 1, here they have mentioned we have to declare the constructor as a private, so it will restrict the class to be accessed or to be created an object of the class outside the class, right? So we have to restrict it because we have to make sure our class will have only single object, right? I am removing this base class code because it is no more useful for us. So let's come here and let's make it private, right? Okay, so once we define this as a private, you can see that it is not available outside the class to be created an object of this class, right? So let's rebuild this and you will see that this kind of error we are getting here is inaccessible due to its protection levels, right? So it is happening because of we have defined this as a private, right? Now what we have to do, we have to like create a class which will have a single object available, right? But here because of defined it as a private, we are not able to create an object of this class in outside the class, right? So how we will get the single object of this class? So to like achieve this, we have to declare one private static variable which will be like a variable for this singleton class. So our variable will be private static singleton, then variable name equal to null, right? Then we have to declare one method which will return the object of this class. In the point number 4, we have already mentioned we have to create a method which will be a static and it will return the object of this class, right? Okay, so let's copy this. Okay, so I have defined here one static method and its return type is singleton, right? Okay, so here its return type is our class type, right? So we have to return the object of this class. So let's create an object. Okay, we have created an object and I am returning this object. Okay, now our code is correct and this is like this method will return the object of this class. So let's put a debugger here. Okay, let's put one debugger here as well. We have to see whether it is creating more than one object or not. Okay, now let's try to create an object of this try to access the object of this class. Okay, so here I am trying to get the access single instance of this class. Okay, now as we know this method is a static, so we have to call this method by using class name, right? So this is how we can get the instance of this class, right? Now let's try run this and see what happens. Okay, here you can see that it will call this get instance method and here it will create an object of this class. So once the object is created, private constructor got called, it is mean that the object is created, right? Now it will return that object and that object we will get into our this variable, right? So this is null now. So once it is accessed, it will be that object will be available here. So now it is available, right? Okay, but is it really a single object created by the class, or we can have a more than one object? Okay, so let's see. by creating a more by calling this method one more time. Okay, so here I have again defined one variable, that is obj1, and I am again calling the same method. So let's run this again and see what happens. Okay, so this method got called. Now object is created, that private constructor got called. It is mean that object is created, right? And it is written. So we got object here. Again I'm calling the same method, and you can see that again it is creating an object of this class. So again the private constructor got called. So it is mean that the object of this class is created more than once, because private constructor got called twice, right? So again like we have to put some restrictions on this, right? To do that, what we have to do, we have to simply add a condition here. That condition is if obj is not equal to null, right? Or we can say that equal to null, correct? And inside that we have to create an object of this class. Now if the object is not created, it will be a null, right? And it will go inside this condition and it will create an object of this class and it will return it, right? If the object is already created, in that case that condition will become a false and it will come here and it will directly return the object which is already available. So let's run again. So here it is calling this method, so it came here. Now you can see that an object of this class is null, right? So it is mean that there is no object created for this class, and it is going inside and it has created an object of this class, and it got called successfully that private constructor as well, right? Now it will return the object of this class and we will get it here, right? So we got it here. Again we have called same method, but at the next time you can see that that object is created inside. That object is created and it is there, right? So here the object is not null, so this condition will become a false and it will directly go here and it will return the object which is already available. And this time it did not call this private constructor as well. It is mean that it has successfully created only single object, and second time it has checked whether the object is created or not. If it is, and there was object already available, so it did not created new object. Instead of this it has returned the existing object. So this is how we can achieve the singleton design pattern in the C sharp. Still there is one more thing which was mentioned in the document and we have not followed this. So what is this? So let's come to document and see. So in the point number 2 they have mentioned that the class should be declared as a sealed, which will ensure that it cannot be inherited, right? So let's come here and try to inherit this class without declaring this as a sealed. Okay, so I am inheriting this class to the program class. Okay, now you can see that I have inherited this class here in the program class, and if I rebuild this, you can see that it is already inaccessible, right? And due to this it is like throwing exception, right? Okay, so it is not getting inherited anyway. So and it is happening because of we have defined this as a private, right? So why should we have a like sealed keyword here, right? Okay, so I will tell you, because private constructor only restrict the access of that class, and because of it is not having an access to the other classes. Okay, and because of this it is not getting inherited. Okay, right? If you will define this as a public, let's make it public for some time. So you will see that now it will be like able to access here, right? And it got inherited successfully. So private constructor is making like putting restrictions to getting access outside the class. Okay, now it is public and you can see that it is successfully getting inherited. And in the inheritance as well, it will definitely create multiple object of the class. I will show you how. So if you create an object of this class here, O1, I will say. So you can see that object is getting created directly, right? Correct. So we can create number of object of this class. Even by creating an object of the derived class, this time also it will create an object of its base class, right? So in both the cases, multiple objects are getting created again, right? Because of we have made it public, right? Correct. So let's try run this. So here private constructor got called again for second time as well. Even though we created a derived class object, it has called public constructor of base class, right? So it has created number of object again and again, right? So let's make it private again. Okay. So by making it private again, it is restricted to getting accessed from the outside the class, even it is not getting inherited as well, right? Now then why should we have to use a sealed keyword, right? Why they have mentioned we have to use sealed keyword? Okay, so the purpose of sealed keyword is in the C# is to restrict the class getting inherited. Okay, but because of private, anyway it is not getting inherited, right? Uh, but the purpose of the private constructor is not, or the private constructor is not getting like restrict the class getting inherited. It is the only purpose of the getting this class accessed outside the class. Okay, this class object. Okay, now to restrict this getting from like inherited in the any class, we have to use sealed keyword. So but where it will get inherited, because here it is not getting inherited, right? So it can be inherited into the inner classes as well. So here inside this class, I am defining one inner class. So let's define inner class, public class, inner class. Okay. So now you can see that we have successfully defined inner class and there is no error, right? So this class is available inside the class and its object is also available inside the class. So it will definitely got inherited inside the class, right? So now you can see that it has successfully got inherited inside the class, and even it is private, we can create number of object of this class. I will show you that. So to create an object of this class, we have to use outer class, means singleton class dot inner class, then obj, I will say in1 equal to new this. Again, we can create number of object of this class. So I will say 2, then 3. Okay. So let's run this and see what happens. So here you can see that it has no like compilation error or runtime error, and it is getting executed successfully. So here it has created first object of this class singleton. Again, second object it has created, and the same it has done for third as well, right? So it has again created multiple object of this singleton class, and here the sealed keyword comes in the picture, right? Okay. So what we have to do here, then we have to define this sealed, right? This class as a sealed, and which is already mentioned in the point number 2. So it will restrict the class to be inherited into the inner or outer or any classes. So the main purpose of sealed keyword is to restrict the class become inherited into the derived classes or any inner classes or any other classes. And the purpose of defining private constructor is that only restrict the access of this class outside this class. Okay, so this is very tricky point, and in the interviews as well, the interviewer asked so many questions on this sealed keyword and private constructor. So I think you guys have like understood the difference between that private constructor and sealed keyword, right? And the purpose of this both things. So once you define this class as a sealed, it will not get inherited inside the class as well, even in not inside the inner class as well. So let's rebuild this and see what happened. So you can see that here we have inherited this class, and in the error list we can see that cannot derive from sealed type, because sealed restrict class become getting inherited into the classes. Okay, so now it will not inherit into the inside the class as well. So I am commenting this code. Okay, now this is I will say perfect and final singleton class code. Okay, now there is no way developer can create an more than one object of this singleton design pattern. So this is the full code of singleton design pattern class. So here we have defined class with sealed keyword, then we have defined one private variable, which is our class type, our singleton class type. Then we have defined private constructor to getting restricted access outside the class of this object, right? Then we have defined one method which is public, and the reason is public because we have to access this method throughout the application. Okay, and it is defined static because of these restrictions private constructor, we cannot create an instance of this class outside the class, so we cannot access normal method, means instance method. So we have defined this static method, so we can access this method by using the class name. Okay, inside this method we have defined this condition which will check whether the object is null or not. If it is null, it will create an object. If it is not null, then it will return the existing object. Okay, and this is all is the singleton design pattern. And here we have like tried calling this instance again and again, and we have seen it is not creating more than one instance of this class. So again I'm calling this for these two instances. So let's try this. Okay, here it has called, it is going to call this method. So here it has called this method. Here it came, the object is null, so it came here and it has created object. It called and because of this it got called that singleton constructor of this class. So it is mean that an object of this class is created successfully, right? So here you can see that in the debugging mode as well. And after that it has returned this object. So again for second time we have like again called this method for other purpose. So you can see that second time the object is available here and it is not null. So because of this it did not execute this object creation code. Okay, and it has directly returned the object which is already available. Even that constructor also not got called, it is mean that it did not create the more than one object, right? So this is all is the singleton design pattern. This is the full code of the of the singleton design pattern. Okay, so you can refer this video and you can understand the what is the singleton design pattern in detail. Okay, so I am done, and we will see more new things in our upcoming video sessions.